The morning air in Bergas Kidul seeped through the cracks in the windows of residents' homes, carrying with it the scent of wet earth and freshly dew-drenched banana leaves. The sun hadn't yet fully risen, but the eastern sky was beginning to reveal a shy, rising orange glow. In a small alley connecting the main road and the rice fields, an elderly man was sweeping his yard. The sound of a broom scraping against smooth gravel signaled the beginning of a quiet day in this village. Bergas Kidul wasn't a village bustling with the hustle and bustle of a city or a bustling market. It stood out with its own face, simple, unassuming, yet warm. The village roads, paved with old asphalt, some patched with gravel, were traversed by the unhurried rush of motorbikes. Small children in elementary school uniforms ran laughing, some led by their mothers to school on the outskirts of the village. This atmosphere seems to defy time, providing a comfort that slowly makes anyone who comes feel at home. From the west of the village, the sun begins to shine through the ancient rain tree trees that stand firmly by the roadside. Their leaves are lush, casting a thick shade on the warming ground. Beneath the tree sits an old man selling cracker-like snacks. His face is full of wrinkles, but his smile welcomes anyone who passes by. Occasionally, he chats with neighbors or greets children on their way to school. Bergas Kidul village is home to many lives: farmers, bricklayers, traveling vegetable vendors, and even factory workers who leave each morning for the nearby industrial area. Although large factories stand less than 5 kilometers from the village, the rhythm of life in Bergas Kidul continues as usual. It's as if the residents possess their own shield of time, refusing to be caught up in modernity without denying it. Behind the brick houses and semi-permanent buildings, stretches of rice fields stretch as far as the eye can see. Mornings are a busy time there. Farmers, both men and women, were working in the fields with hats and hoes. Some were planting rice, others were harvesting kale and spinach. At the edge of the embankment, a young mother was carrying her child, while picking chilies from clumps planted between the ditches. "Sir, don't walk over here. My rice field is slippery," a woman called out to a young man walking across the embankment. Her voice was loud, but full of familiarity. There were no strangers in Bergas Kidul. As soon as you set foot here and looked into the face of just one resident, they would greet you as if they had known you for a long time. The small coffee shop at the corner of the intersection began to fill with village men. They arrived after dawn, sat cross-legged on mats, ordered black coffee, fried snacks, and discussed news that wasn't always important. From the rising price of fertilizer, to the road rebate project in the neighboring neighborhood, to the news of newlyweds on their honeymoon in Yogyakarta. Everything was discussed with relaxed conversation and occasional laughter. The radio in the shop played camper sari music from morning until noon, occasionally interspersed with religious sermons or fertilizer advertisements. But this village wasn't just about the past and tranquility. Bergas Kidul held its own dynamics. At the eastern end stood a high school, bustling with the voices of teenagers every afternoon. They sat at the chicken noodle stall, sipping iced tea, or joking around under the angsana tree in front of the school. For them, Bergas Kidul was the beginning of a youthful adventure they would one day remember with laughter. A few meters from the school was a welding shop run by a man named Pat Darmo. His workshop was simple, was a tin roof, but it was always busy. He took orders for iron fences, window grills, and even motorcycle racks. Young people who hadn't continued their education learned a lot there. They were warmly welcomed and taught not only about metal, but also about life, to live your life. You must be connected. Don't just be smart with your hands, but your heart must be sensitive, Pak Dharma once said to one of his apprentices. The words were simple, but deeply embedded. Noon approached. The sun hung high, illuminating the courtyards and the wet banana leaves. Behind the fence, the sounds of women cooking could be heard. Smoke rose from the earthen stoves, carrying the aroma of fried tempeh and sour vegetables. The crowing of roosters could still be heard, competing with the sound of passing motorcycles carrying gas canisters or water gallons. Life continued to move, without fanfare, but full of a real pulse. In the southern hamlet, as evening approached, children began to gather in the field. Some played ball, others flew kites, and still others simply sat on large rocks, talking about games or dreaming of going to the city. The field was more than just empty ground. It was a stage for life, a place where children learned to lose and win, to fall and rise, and most importantly to make friends. As the sky began to turn yellow and the call to prayer for evening prayers echoed from the small mosques throughout the village, Bergas Kidul slowly calmed down. Residents closed their stalls, hung up their washing, and swept their yards. The children were called home. Then, the sound of prayers filled the night, followed by soft conversations on the veranda, accompanied by leftover afternoon coffee and the scent of incense burned by an old woman. The night in Bergas Kidul was peaceful. The moon hung low, illuminating the roof tiles of the houses and the quiet village streets. The occasional motorcycle could be heard, but otherwise, only the sound of crickets and the whispering wind could be heard. In the residents' homes, family stories flowed, unrecorded by anyone but eternally in their hearts. And so it was, Bergas Kidul, a village perhaps not often recorded in history books, but alive in the thousands of memories of those born and raised there, a place where life was unhurried, where time passed slowly, and every second could be enjoyed without rushing.